Hello everyone. Let's talk about a Valley Flyer. So, first I will start with some model history and then we will get into prototype history. So, I actually grew up in California. I've known about this train my whole life. It does have some history out there in California, and we will get into that. As far as modeling goes, oh, and by the way, the M64 is out here too, but we will get into that later as these two guys share some common history. But anyway, so anyone that knows me, I used to, before I had a chance to go to York myself, I would always send a couple people a list of locomotives I wanted. Number one was always the M64, and number two was the Weaver Valley Flyer. So this locomotive has been done by two manufacturers in three-rail O-gauge, one being Weaver, of course, the other being Lionel. It's kind of a catch-22 for me, and it kind of sucks. Weaver nailed the locomotive, completely failed on the passenger cars. Passenger cars that they brought out were streamlined style. They're supposed to be heavyweights. Lionel, on the other hand, completely nailed the passenger cars. They have people and everything and are heavyweights. But they missed a few things on the locomotive. A couple things that were a little too much for me. It is a legacy set. I believe it came out in 21 or something like that because it has Bluetooth. But it just was one of those things. I understand the difference between features and prototypical accuracy and stuff like that. But when it comes to a locomotive like this, that actually, in my mind, has quite a bit of history, I got to go with the one that's closer to being correct. So, sorry about that. But anyway, as far as the prototypical history of this guy goes, this train was put into service in 1939, and it ran service in between Bakersfield, California, up to Oakland, California, to transport passengers to the Golden Gate International Expo, which was basically a World's Fair. This guy ran through the San Joaquin Valley of California on Santa Fe's Valley Division, hence the name Valley Flyer. The importance of the Golden Gate International Expo, well, the main thing they were celebrating was the opening of the Bay and the Golden Gate Bridge. So, the other big attraction that was there, for you sports guys, Gary from the train board, I'm talking to you, it held the first ever NCAA Division I men's basketball tournament. So, quite a lot of things going on. That expo went between 39 and 40. After 1940, these, and I'll go into the history of the locomotive here. So these are 1330 class Baldwin-built Pacifics for the Santa Fe. These guys actually started out, I believe they were built in early 1900s, so 14, 15, somewhere in there. They originally were built as four-cylinder compound locomotives developed for mountainous passenger service, basically. Sometime in the 20s, they were converted into simple two-cylinder passenger locomotives. So basically just became normal Pacifics. There were two of these. There was 1369 and 1376. These guys, after the expo went from 39 to 40, and then this train set was actually put back into service in, I believe it was October of 1941. And it ran a division, it ran on the Surf Line for Santa Fe, which actually was a line that went from Los Angeles to San Diego. And it and its original passenger train, minus the parlor car, was a troop-only version of the San Diego. That service was discontinued in 1942. The passenger cars were repainted green. The locomotives were de-streamlined. 1376 served up until, I believe, 1950 is when it was scrapped. And 1369 actually was scrapped in 51 or 52. I can't totally remember. So, another fun fact about that Golden Gate International Exposition was there was another train that was inaugurated to run people to that fair. That train came out of Chicago and was jointly operated by CB&Q, Denver Rio Grande Western, and the Western Pacific. That train became known as the Exposition Flyer. Hence the name, San Francisco Golden Gate International Expo, Exposition Flyer. This train was supposed to be, and the reason the M64 is here, when this train first started, it also started service in 1939, it would have been pulled out of Chicago to Denver by CB&Q's 05 class Northerns. In Colorado, it would have been grabbed by one of these guys, meaning the M64 484 Northern, very possibly in this exact paint scheme because it would have run on the Moffett Tunnel route to get to Utah, where the Western Pacific would take over. I don't know what the hell Western Pacific used for motive power. I don't follow the Western Pacific. But this train was supposed to be temporary, but it actually ended up lasting about 10 years, 39 to 49, because it was extremely popular, excuse me, and it served as competition to another famous train that ran on the Overland route. Let me grab something here. That was known as Union Pacific's City of San Francisco. So if any of you watched my video on the M64, I actually talked about the Exposition Flyer. The Exposition Flyer, like I said, ran between 1939 and 1949. In 1949, somewhere in between, it started getting dieselized and there were a few streamlined cars added. But in 1949, the train was fully streamlined, totally dieselized, and renamed the California Zephyr. So, anywho, I thought that was kind of cool that these two guys kind of shared something in common. But anyway, that's my spiel on the Santa Fe Valley Flyer. In my opinion, it is a historic locomotive. I've always wanted this little guy. It is a piece of California history, and I really enjoy it. So, anyway, I hope everyone enjoys this little bit of history on this locomotive, and I will catch you on the next one. Later.